You are doing the right things, but something still feels wrong. You obey, you wait, you don't run ahead, and yet you feel lost, and you don't know why. You thought waiting well would feel steadier than this. You assumed obedience would bring clarity. Instead, the longer you wait, the more uncertain you feel inside. You don't feel rebellious. You don't feel distant on purpose. You just feel disoriented, like you're standing still while everything else keeps moving. You ask yourself quiet questions you don't say out loud. If I'm doing what God asked, why does it feel like I'm wandering? Why does faith feel heavier now than when I wasn't sure? You replay past decisions. You check your motives again. You wonder if you missed something small that changed everything. Waiting was supposed to simplify things. Instead, it exposed how much you want direction you can feel, not just trust you have to choose. There's a tension here you can't escape. You're not running from God, but you're not sensing His nearness either. And that absence presses on you. How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? Psalm 13:1. That verse doesn't rush to fix anything. It doesn't correct the question. It lets the weight sit there with you. For a moment, that honesty gives you relief. It reminds you that feeling lost while waiting is not faithlessness. But the relief doesn't last, because the deeper fear rises up again. What if waiting well is still not enough? What if obedience doesn't guarantee understanding on this side of the silence? You don't want shortcuts. You don't want easy answers. You just want to know that this waiting is not empty. You notice how carefully you measure your steps now. You hesitate where you used to move freely. You're afraid of acting too soon, but also afraid of staying too long. And that fear creates another kind of loss. Not a loss of faith, but a loss of confidence. You start to wonder who you are when nothing is clear. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. A lamp does not show the whole road. It only shows enough for the next step. And that truth is both comforting and unsettling. It comforts you because you are not required to see the ending. But it unsettles you because you want more than the next step. You want assurance that the road itself makes sense. Waiting well, you realize, is not passive. It demands attention, restraint, and humility all at once. And that combination can feel like being unanchored. You begin to see something harder beneath the confusion. Waiting well strips away outcomes you were quietly relying on. It exposes how much peace you attach to results instead of trust you have to choose. That realization stings because you didn't think your faith depended on answers, but the silence reveals how deeply you wanted them. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. The verse doesn't accuse you. It simply names the tension you're living in. Trust and understanding are not the same thing. Again, there is a brief settling in your spirit, not because everything is resolved, but because you see the struggle more clearly. Then, the tension escalates again, because clarity about the struggle does not remove the struggle. You still wake up not knowing what comes next. You still carry the weight of unanswered prayers. You still feel suspended between obedience and uncertainty. And some days, that feels like being lost without having gone anywhere. This is where waiting becomes costly, not in what it demands you do, but in what it refuses to give you: certainty, control, emotional closure. You are tempted to believe that feeling lost means you are off course, but that belief assumes God always leads with clarity. Scripture tells a different story. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called, not knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11:8. Not knowing did not cancel obedience. Obedience did not remove the unknown. They existed together. This is the clarity that finally begins to settle in. Feeling lost does not mean you are lost. It means you are walking without sight, not without direction. Waiting well is not about feeling grounded. It is about choosing faith when grounding is withheld. It is about staying when leaving would feel easier. You are not failing because you feel disoriented. You are being formed in a way that clarity could never accomplish. Something steady is being built beneath the confusion. The silence is not absence. The waiting is not wasted. And the loss you feel is not the loss of God, but the loss of control. So the question shifts quietly. Not, why do I feel lost? But will I remain faithful without the comfort of understanding? That is the work of waiting well. Not to arrive at answers, but to remain obedient when answers do not arrive. And that choice is still yours today.